Something is wrong with Laszlo.
I can't even get a rise out of him for a mini drain.
Does the warranty cover the power cord?
Oh, good Lord.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Thursday.
Laszlo's been working so hard to figure out why I'm not a full vampire yet.
You have been keeping a little secret from me? Is there something you'd like to tell me? You made a fart in my coffin, didn't you?
I did.
Boop.
FX is What We Do in the Shadows. All new Thursday at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world.
You're listening to the League Podcast, the Vampire Council, Season 5, Episode 8 of What We Do in the Shadows. That's right. What We Do in the Shadows, Season 5, Episode 8. It's called The Roast. I'm Matt Dursin.
Play Inferno here.
All right, welcome back. We're getting down to the
down to the wire,
as I say. Yeah, this was episode 8. There are apparently 2 episodes next week, and that's it.
Way.
That's what they said. 2 episodes, season finale. That's what they said. If I heard it right.
I wonder why they're doing that. Maybe just to have it done before. I don't know. The regular fall season of shows would start, which I guess probably shows will still be released, even though there's the strike, right? You know,
yeah, anything that's already filmed. Yeah, right. They're filming. You know, they're showing this, showing. You know, all these shows that are still like Ahsoka or something like that started. You know, it's yeah, there's still, as long as there's stuff to show, they'll do it. But yeah, the strike, eventually they're going to run out, I guess.
Yeah, or they'll start releasing stuff like, here's the Shazam TV show from 1970.
They might have to do that. I mean, you know what? In a way, it's kind of interesting because the way streaming has gone, you know what I mean? Like unless you went back to Hulu, which is what you do anyway, but like, a network wouldn't show season 1 of What We Do in the Shadows or something. You know what I mean? Like you would have to. You couldn't just be flipping the channels and be like, "Oh, it's this. Oh, it's What We Do in the Shadows." Unless they did some kind of marathon or something. Occasionally, they would do that with like The Walking Dead and stuff. They would show all day, like all the episodes leading up to like the new season or something. But you know what I mean? If you wanted, you couldn't just be flipping channels and find like, "Oh, here's a random episode of What We Do in the Shadows." Probably, but.
Yeah, it's not like Cheers or whatever. It's not always on. Like some rerun isn't always on Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, right. But maybe, you know, if the strike keeps going, you might have to resort to that. Who knows? Not even resort. I think it'd be funny. I'd stop and watch it if I was flipping around, because I still have cable like a dope. If I was flipping around, I'd be like, "Oh my God, What We Do in the Shadows is on," I would stop and watch it. So.
Well, you people that are fancy like that and live in New York City, North Dakota. Yeah, you get to see it on Thursday, which is good. You get to see it when it's on, or like whatever you call it, record it.
Yeah, we sometimes DVR or whatever.
DVR.
Which, yeah, I never watch. I suppose if I wanted to, I never watched it on a Thursday night when it comes on. But yeah, it would have been the old days.
Oh yeah,
you know,
appointment viewing.
Yes. I know.
Which I always think of is still to this day like Sunday HBO shows. You know, there's still, that's when they come out. Not that there's anything that's coming out right now like Succession or Silicon Valley or anything like that. But I would think Sunday HBO. That's when you return. Or Sunday
going back to like The Sopranos, that sort of, I think, established HBO Sunday night, you know, and then they would start showing all these other things. But it was always Sunday night.
The Wire, Rome.
The Wire, yep.
And speaking of which, Rome, I'm trying to get Stacy to watch Rome. It's not related to vampires, obviously, but you did mention Ahsoka, and Ray Stevenson is in that. Punisher Warzone's very own Ray Stevenson, and I go, "Aw." Sad.
He died not that long ago. This year.
Yeah, this year. He was like pretty young too.
Yeah, and he was also Volstagg in the Thor movies.
That's right.
They made him look really fat. He's very, only a few good lines, but he's really good on Rome. He is hilarious.
So you have seen Rome, yes. That's why I'm trying to get Stacy
Rome,
to watch it. As somebody that she did archaeology and stuff, I was like, you gotta watch that. It's a good.
I mean, there's not much in the way of history. It is they kind of go by history, but it's a fun show though. Only 2 seasons. You can bang through that.
Yeah. But here we are for What We Do in the Shadows.
Here we are.
Roast!
The roast. So the episode starts off. Laszlo is kind of in his trance in a way, or he's very depressed.
He's sitting in his study, and he just keeps saying, "Thank you, very good, thank you,
thank you, yeah. Fine, very good, fine, thank you." Yeah, he keeps saying, but yeah, he says thank you at the end. So, but yeah, like Nandor is, I kind of find it interesting. Nandor and Nadja and Guillermo, who feels responsible for it, they all are kind of pulling together, trying to get Laszlo out of this, which is really nice.
Yeah, they all try to kind of give him a pep talk, or Nandor is like coming in and asking him like obscure trivia about all these naval battles, and
Right.
Actually my favorite part is like toward the end of the montage of them trying to cheer him up. He's like, "Look, I found a box of ships. It's all like little toy wooden ships models or whatever. I found a box of ships and pornography."
Yeah, like ships and why are ships and porn gonna? I mean, I guess the porn, but I mean the ships just me. I don't know.
He must have gathered them up because he's just trying to cheer him up. It's like, "I found your favorite stuffed animals."
Yeah, well, I guess he was talking about naval battles, so maybe he likes ships and porn. Everybody's got their kink. I like, for Nadja, to illustrate how severe this is, she says, "We're down to 16 fucks a week." And Nandor says, "We are down to 3.
And then this is pretty brilliant camera work, because then they like kind of like, they like at some point they like zoom out and you see that they're all doing their confessional thing about cheering up Laszlo, sitting right to each other, where you think that they would usually be like separate. And Colin goes, "I can't even just get like a good low energy drain out of him, and
right.
Colin Robinson's like doing stuff like, "Oh, sure, I'd love to be on." He's like making annoying phone calls and like stretching around him and stuff.
Oh, he's right in his face. Like, he's like,
like nutsack in the face, like stretch.
Oh my God. Can we take a moment here? Something I completely forgot to mention on last week's episode. Go back and listen to it, but just pretend I'm talking about this last week. Do you remember the funniest joke in the whole episode that I don't know how I missed? Well, I thought so Colin Robinson is being the cool teacher, right? And he's sitting on the desk in his shorts, and Nandor says, "I think the only reason they're paying attention to him is because they can see his nut."
Yeah, I think we did mention something.
All right, I don't know if I mentioned how funny I thought that joke was.
Well, they showed it like a digitized, like they digitized his nutsack out of there.
It was so great. So, anyways, that
was like the second time Mark Proksch has gone like full frontal, because like when he was running for comptroller, like he stood up naked and they digitized
to take his pants off for that one too.
Yeah,
so he's getting into it this season. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that, but we should move back to the roast. But he does say that he's had dreams of like where he was a child and Laszlo was his daddy, and they say, "Oh, you have those memories because that happened." And he's like, "I think I would remember Laszlo wiping my bottom."
And he goes, "Funny enough, that's what's happening in the dreams." And they're like, "Ew, gross."
Yeah.
But also,
had to go
that
there.
actually did happen to you.
Yeah,
they can't convince him of that. Like, which goes back to like when he was an adult, and they were like, "Do you remember any of that?" And he's like, "No." But when he walked away, he was like humming one of the songs that like child Colin Robinson was singing on stage, So it's like, oh, maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't remember. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Won't they?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so he has, I guess, trick, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so they while they're all together, they're coming up with ideas how to get Laszlo out of the funk. They're even writing them down. Nandor is writing them down in like a pad. None of the ideas work. But the guide says, how about we do a roast? Sorry, that was my
pretty good.
Thanks.
Well, I've heard you talk as the guide as much as the guide has talked to this season, which is not much.
No, but I almost think that's part of the storyline here, because then
yeah, I think so too.
As soon as she says that, Colin Robinson says, "Hey, let's do a roast," or one of them. I think it's Colin Robinson.
Yeah,
I think we should do I think we should do a roast, and they're all like, and Nandor's like, "That is an amazing idea. I love that." Like he's so
yeah, and she's like,
and
I
love
just
the guy
said
like,
that.
I just said that really loud.
We all have that boss or someone at work, they take credit for like everybody else's idea or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is like the opposite, because she's getting kind of like constantly gaslit by them. They totally don't care about her and treat her like such shit. It's so funny. I'm sorry that it is, but it's very funny to me.
It's meant to be funny. It's a comedy show, but I like that it kind of came back to haunt them. So later on, they do the roast, and there's a couple more jokes. There's a couple jokes in the thing at the guide's expense for one day. There's a few more times where like they dig at the guide. Yeah, basically it's like one of those bad Comedy Central, or roasts basically. But they're always famous.
The Jeff Ross
right.
roasts, right?
So they're making all these jokes. Sean is there, which I love, the Sean cameo. And the Baron is there, Baron Afanas. Doug Jones.
Yeah, all in his all healed up, which I think we've seen him all healed up, but
yes.
It comes back. That's relevant.
Yeah, it's very relevant. Nobody's really, I think the vampires are actually laughing, which is pretty funny. And there's like and they're all people we've seen. Pretty much, right? The crowd. I think the idea is
it's like one of Sean's friends and maybe I think some vampires, because they used to run a vampire nightclub, so it's like kind of
that's right.
the group there. And I think there was even when Colin Robinson was singing as the entertainer there. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's all coming back to me. But remember they had like a jazz trio.
Yeah,
it was like the so-and-so jazz trio, so it's got to be them.
I'm pretty sure that's the band. Yeah, and they would do the like every time.
And I do have to notice that though she doesn't exactly have any lines, you can't forget that Nadja Doll is there the whole time.
She is there.
She's either on Nadja's lap or just kind of like making side eyes or like sitting on the couch. It's so funny.
And so like she even has these sort of Jeff Foxworthy type of like, if you consider ejaculating on the pillow cooking your wife dinner, you may be a Laszlo
Cravensworth, yeah.
But none of this stuff is working. Laszlo is still not, snapping out of it. The guy decides to get back at them by telling the Baron that it was Guillermo who opened the door and burned him all those years ago.
Yeah, so the setup for that, which is really funny, is that they go kind of through the vampires and Guillermo through like, a bunch of like Nandor like does a bunch of Jeff Ross jokes, like setting up the roast and, and then, Colin goes up there and he like,
oh my God,
does that Bob Saget like aristocrats joke, but he totally energy vampires it and keeps telling the punchline before the joke. And
I know, and it's like, and then people are literally passing out because of it's so draining.
And and Nandor, when he goes to introduce Guillermo, he keeps talking about how this guy here, because he keeps making references to how he burnt.
Yeah, right. Because everybody gets a joke.
You better if you're
at their expense.
If the last time this guy roasted a vampire, you'd need a hamburger bun and some ketchup.
Yeah, right. And so the guy tells him it was Guillermo who opened the door. Then she says, "Oh, he also has Van Helsing blood." Like, we don't see her do this. She tells it.
Yeah, she's like, well, that just kind of slipped out.
Yeah, right.
Because, and you're right, because she's kind of maybe not intentionally or intentionally, like, getting back at the other vampires because of the way that she says it. She's just like, well, being left out of a joke sucks. I wanted him to understand it. It's because I'm always being left out of the jokes.
I know. I mean, I don't know what she thought. I guess she, they don't value human life, very well. So she probably just thought, I'll just kill Guillermo and that'll be that. Like just her little bit of revenge. It's like, I ate all the peanut butter to get back at them. You know what I mean? They'll just kill Guillermo and that'll be that. Yeah, so they're kind of going through the roads, and Baron says, "May I speak?" And he gets up there. First, he makes fun of everybody, thinking vampires got too soft. Meanwhile, they show a little montage. He lives in like suburban New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he's like walking his dog, and the neighbors kind of look at him funny, but they're not. He wants them to be terrified.
Yeah, because he's not all burnt up. Like he's just
a
regular guy walking his dog, and the neighbor does look a little bit concerned. Like, why is that guy wearing like a Dracula outfit?
Right,
but she doesn't. Right. She's not like scared of him when she's bringing out her trash. The realty lady.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is good. I mean, Doug Jones. I don't know how often he gets to play like his own face. I mean, he is obviously wearing makeup and a wig and all that stuff, but usually he's like somebody like sort of doing motion capture or something. Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? He's Saru on Star Trek, and he looks like a big fish. Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like he has a lot, and in that show, which I do like a lot. Like he acts a lot. Like he's a great actor. Like he has a lot of dialogue. He's a captain of, the Discovery or whatever, he's a co-captain, but he's a great actor, and this episode gave him a lot more dialogue, and he was like part of the story.
He's a big part of he's pretty much. I mean, the funny thing is, like, it's almost a tease. It's kind of like we were talking about the writers and stuff last week, and some of the writing, and first of all, the roast must have been hilarious. It must be so much fun to write bad jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially the Nadja ones. There was just like 3 of them, but that made it into the show. But there was like Megan Amram, like from The Good Place. Like she had hundreds of like hilarious, funny like shops, and she just had like journals and journals and journals full of like funny fucking names. She posts them sometimes of stuff that would be in The Good Place, like, there was, I can't think of one right now, but like the yogurt shop in The Good Place had a really funny
they always
name
had
and everything.
Fun names.
So she has like tons and tons of stuff. So like, even though only like 3 jokes made it to Nadja, I'm sure there was thousands of them. like coming ejaculating on a pillow and cooking your wife dinner. That is so gross. It's so funny.
So gross, but so funny, right? So like I can't. I wish I was a fly on the wall there. But the thing that got me about this episode is almost like an episode of The Simpsons or something, or Seinfeld, where
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The old school half-hour comedy show.
Yeah. Shit. But it starts off with the roast, and then it takes his turn, right? Because once the Baron gets up there and he starts like just saying all this shit, talking shit, whatever that and
the Baron has his certain accent too. Yeah. So he always says a vampire, and he says like old words like. And we are men of letters. So like when we hear somebody say that everybody's there you have all this jacknapery, like we know that means like that's a great word, and like most people know that word, but it's a surprise to hear it because you don't ever hear that word. But then you're like, oh, it's like I'm reading like fucking Charles Dickens or something,
I know, it's funny. It's funnier to hear it in that voice too, But anyway, he wants to get his revenge on Guillermo, and he's going to kill him.
He's like, but he's basically kind of like, he turns the roast around, like you said, because he's like, vampires, we should be out there, having like slaughter parties. Yeah, right. None of this. And it's 25th anniversary of Blade, so I bought all the on digital whatever. I bought the Blade movies, and they're just fucking vampire nightclub. Blood sprinklers, those vampires are always partying, man. They're always getting into a lot of slaughtering and killing and
that's
blood
how they
sprinklers.
used to party, is just kill people. You know,
in the
going
90s,
out
hey,
and-
that was 25 years ago. Things have calmed down a little bit, I guess, you know, but still.
Yeah.
I was going to raves back then. I don't go to raves now. So
Yeah.
no blood.
But the
though.
Baron wants to go back to that. And he's really mad about the Guillermo thing. So like it's kind of, they have a little chase. Now there's a detail here that I had forgotten, right? But obviously a crucial detail is that all the vampires on this show, and I guess all of them, I don't know, maybe not all of them everywhere, but they are descendants, like blood descendants or whatever they call it, of the Baron. So if he is killed, they will all be killed because did he turn them all, or how did
he turned all of them.
Okay,
I think, and also like the sire. I don't know if the sire created the Baron, but certainly the sire is like where all of the vampires come from. But yeah, and you know what it reminded me too in the chase scene was, and a couple of things actually that we talked about last week, about how earlier seasons they did a lot more stuff kind of that was a little bit more like the movie. And when the Baron goes and flies to get Guillermo, that looked very much like movie What We Do in the Shadows.
That's true, yeah.
He's like, and then we were talking about, and I know I was saying like we don't see them feeding, but we do see them drink blood, and they're having a party. They're having a party, so assume that they probably shipped in a keg of cold blood or whatever. You know what I mean? That for the to host everybody that's coming to the roast.
Sure.
So I was thinking like. So I was kind of like no prizing what I had said last week. It's like, well, we don't see them feeding, but I think the no prize is probably that they do kind of like in other vampire fiction things, where it's like they like steal blood from the blood bank and keep it cold, or they have a keg. They have some sort of resource, some sort of like, What We Do in the Shadows kind of like underground, like you buy your... Maybe they buy blood from Derek in the back room of the 7-Eleven or something. You know what I mean? They probably have something that I was like, okay, that's my no prize that I gave myself.
Well, at one point, Nandor asked Guillermo to get him a carafe of blood, and meanwhile, Guillermo's tied up. So yeah, like what happens is, they don't know. They're torn. Nandor is torn, because it's kind of like, one of them will probably die. And if the Baron dies, then they all die. And I like even not just like, maybe we'll die then.
Yeah, but that was like not just a reminder for a couple of guys that do a podcast about this, but just everybody, like reminder everybody, exposition time. If the Baron dies, we die. Because the last time we mentioned this was 20 episodes ago.
Yeah, a long time. But I mean, it's kind of like, subtly. They kind of like Guillermo.
And Nadja, Nadja's kind of like, she's bummed out because she has a hex and her dear
husband,
husband is like all bummed out and she can't get through, and she's just kind of, when she's having that conversation with Nandor, like, maybe as well. I don't really care if I die. He's like, what are you talking about? It's like, I'm just going through a lot lately. Hashtag I can relate, Nadja. I can relate.
Going through a lot lately.
Yeah.
But
great. You don't see it because it's literally off screen, but you see some explosions and stuff. But
Guillermo was like running around while they were talking about this.
Yeah, but Nadja actually fought the Baron a little bit too.
No, it wasn't the Baron. It was Colin Robinson, like in the sack. Like she came down and said, "Okay, I got him," because they were trying to lure him out.
I thought she actually did fight him.
No, like she was kind of joking, because then Colin Robinson was and they tased. That's when they tased Guillermo.
Yeah.
And then so they had them both tied up, and they tied up the Baron, and they tied up Guillermo, and they sat him in a room, and they sort of forced them to, call, say they're sorry or whatever, and all this.
Yeah, so
some kind of truth.
Yeah, so Baron, do you understand that Guillermo did not know you were there and that he didn't do it on purpose?
Yeah.
Yes.
And and I'm still going to kill him. Like and then eventually, they turned around, and this is what he asked him to get a carafe of blood, and Nandor leaves because he can't. Obviously, Guillermo can't do it because he's tied to the chair. But then it is revealed. Guillermo actually reveals that he was turned not by Nandor. And so
because he's basically because the Baron wants to kill a Van Helsing.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
He's like,
I'm not
you're a vampire killer. It's a risk to have you around. I'm sorry, but basically that's true. And he's like, well, no, I've renounced it. How'd you renounce it? Well, I became vampire. He's like, oh, very good, very good. That I must say congratulations to Nandor. Well.
So then it's the same thing as we've heard all season. The ultimate humiliation for a vampire, a familiar to get turned by the whole thing. So it's almost like the Baron is kind of like, maybe I'll just let Nandor deal with you. But he does actually kind of come around, and he's like, because Nandor comes back and he's got blood for everybody and Pepsi for
a flat Pepsi for Guillermo.
Flat Pepsi.
And you know what? This is also very much like you said The Simpsons, and I totally agree. I was trying to think about how it's just now the ultimate old school trope. I guess I can't put my finger on it. Is just that everybody knows except for Nandor. Even the Baron knows. And they've been carrying this all the way through the season.
Well, yeah, I think they've done a good job. Last week not last week. There was one recently that didn't focus too much on, what's Guillermo going to do? And, sometimes they focus on other storylines and everything. But I think it's good. They give you a little kernel, now this person knows, now Nadja knows. So,
and even the guy continuing her that they completely ignore them because even in the roast, Nandor goes, and the guide is here, and you think he's gonna follow it up with some joke, and he just keeps talking. And the guide's kind of perks her ear up, and then she's in there when Guillermo reveals that he's a vampire.
Yes, so now
she's like, everybody knew except for me.
I know. Yeah. It's constantly getting her feelings hurt by these people who just don't care about her at all. These vampires, not people. But yeah, so the Baron is kind of he's like, all right, I think he kind of admires Guillermo now, but he's also kind of like, well, Nandor will probably kill you. And that is the. Oh, you know what? I forgot to point out. Yeah, there was we skipped over this part, but it's pretty hilarious because Guillermo is missing, and the Baron wants to find him and kill him. And this is when Laszlo decides to sort of come out of it, and he says, Gizmo is in the shed, whacking off. He's doing his favorite thing. So
yeah, because he doesn't want to listen to them prattle on.
That's right.
Listen, you lot waffle about. Then he keeps going, yes, very good, thank you.
Thank you. So then, the Baron brings in this dead body that looks like Guillermo, and they're all sad. And then Laszlo comes out and says, that's not Gizmo. That's an experiment, a rogue experiment of my design or something like that.
Yeah,
there's all these fish in it.
He takes a knife and starts gutting it like a fish. And they're like, you don't need to do that because they still think it's Guillermo. Yeah. And then he rips out and goes does Guillermo have gills? And he's like, does Guillermo have an egg sack? And they're like, and Colin Robinson's like, well, he did wear a lot of layers. And Nandor's like, well, I never really asked.
Never asked. Yeah, and I think Nadja's like, maybe he did. We don't know if he had an egg sack. So I guess that's Binky the fish. Did it grow into a? I don't know. That's what I assume.
I think, and then also remember that the possum said I think I made one of those frogs pregnant, and I'm not. I just think that
maybe you're right.
The I'm not saying it directly goes back to him making the frog pregnant. I'm just saying that apparently it can be pregnant from. Probably the possum fucked the binky or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, someone got this thing pregnant, whatever it was. But so I wanted to go back to that because I thought it was hilarious that Laszlo chose that moment. It's just fun to finally he ratted out Guillermo, although it wasn't really Guillermo, but yeah, it was. But I like too when they dragged him in from the whacking off shit. Colin Robinson said, "Well, at least he died doing what he loved."
Beating off in the tool shed.
Yeah, beating off in the tool shed. So I guess the end result really is like, the Baron's gonna just let him go. Oh, but he also got he had a happy ending too, right? Because this pregnant fish thing had all these weird little babies.
Don't skip Guillermo and Baron's last interaction.
You're right.
That's a big thing.
Well, that's true. I don't even what was the
So what happens is basically the Baron says, I'm gonna let you go. I would rather sit back with the popcorn, like the Michael Jackson gif, with eating the popcorn, and see how Nandor is going to handle this, because right. This isn't worth it. I'm going to let your master deal with this.
Right.
And then Guillermo goes, "Oh, thank God! That's great. I can't afford another slip up on my end." And then he opens the door again, and he burns the Baron again for the second time.
That's true. I can't believe I completely skipped over that. Because then he comes back and he's all burnt again. Because at sundown, they say
now he's back on to the killing of him.
Yeah, because now he's just mad about this because he burned him twice. But but
Nandor makes a compelling argument to the Baron that says, "Hey, he means a lot to me. Really, please, don't. I beg you, please, do not kill him." And then he goes, "He's been loyal to me." And then he keeps going, "Has he?"
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Has he though? Yeah, because
yes, he has been. Yeah. He has been. Really? Yes. He's like, I'll just say it's complicated.
That's true. But then he like I said, it ends up happy for the Baron too, because that little fish guy or big had all these mutant little weird baby things. He takes them all home, and now he's got something to scare the neighbors. So that was great. Now people are afraid of him, and he's happy. And him and the sire,
they're playing peekaboo, or Simon says, Vampire Says, instead of Simon Says, they're playing Vampire Says. Show your fangs, and you see, and it's obviously a callback to Gremlins, because
right.
Laszlo keeps calling him Gizmo. Even when he's in this catatonic state, he calls him Gizmo. Yeah. And he calls him Gizmo a couple times in this episode. And and there's I don't know, maybe 10 to 20 of those little Guillermo weirdo creatures, but they're living with the sire and the Baron. And Baron's walking down the street waving to the real estate lady, but this time he's half burnt. So and then he's kind of gives her a hiss, like a vampire hiss, and she runs in the house.
I know, it's great, because he was complaining about eternity is a long time, and now he said this is something he could live. Him and the sire hanging out,
and then he flushes one down the toilet, which is one of those old UK style, the loo water closet where the water's on top and you pull the chain, and he goes. They don't all live like it was a goldfish. It's what can you do? And he flushes it down the toilet.
And it's huge to flush down the toilet.
I know. It just kind of looks like whatever. Maybe it's not dead, but it's gonna make a bunch of mole men from Fantastic Four. I don't care. Not my problem. Not my problem anymore. Right. I flushed that out of my life.
Once it gets flushed, that's it. So we go back. Nandor he's sad, but he opens his coffin, and Guillermo is hiding in there.
Yay!
And because he had just been looking in the mirror, kind of talking about how much he'll miss Guillermo, or is he out the window? Probably wouldn't make sense. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, fly free, my little bird. And then he's like, oh, I told Guillermo to dust in here.
Yeah, right. He's got his fingers on the windowsill. Right, the window. Told him to dust you.
But
so
yeah, he really does love him, doesn't he?
Right. And he will miss him and all that. And then Guillermo is hiding in the coffee. He's like, I figured this would be the last place the Baron would look. And so, like, Nandor keeps talking about some kind of secret that he's hiding from him, and then he's like, oh, master. And then he's like, you did a fart in my coffin, didn't you? It's like, and Guillermo just tells him, yes, I did a fart in your coffin.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, they established, I guess last week even, or they've established that Guillermo has to come clean. There's no way, right? Like, you can't live like this.
Well, yeah, this is why, and you're running out of people that don't know the secret. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so presumably the Baron tells the sire. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe,
presumably,
right.
Whatever. Oh, and it is funny too because that I have to point this out because we're also talking about those older episodes where we kind of forget, but this is kind of like you're saying too about the Simpsons. Like, there's so much Simpsons, you can't remember all of it, right?
Yeah,
you can't remember all the different things, but there's constant callbacks, and Nandor's like. And sure, Guillermo did once kill an entire theater full of vampires, which includes Jemaine Clement's vampire.
Yeah.
And Baron goes, what? It's like so super quick. But still, don't kill him. But that was,
I know there are fun callbacks that you have to really nerdy podcasters like you like to say like us. But I mean, like I like how the Baron kind of gives him this kind of old man wisdom and like, let me tell you, as someone who's lived a long time, secrets always come out. So yeah, like you're better off just
right. Also, a very sitcom tropey thing. Like, listen to the Mr. Roper or whatever.
That's right. I don't think Mr. Roper had many good things to say. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like the wise old,
there's
like,
something
like on
very
Frasier, it would have been the dad or something.
Yeah,
right?
there's just something very like either 80s or 90s sitcom about this particular episode that
I think so.
You describe it best by calling it The Simpsons because that's exactly it.
Yeah, one of the reasons I thought it was like that is because like you think the story is going to go like The Simpsons would have. They start off with this ridiculous premise and you're like, okay, so that's where this episode's going, and then it doesn't. It goes completely in another direction. So that's kind of what this one did. I thought the whole thing would be this roast of Laszlo and how Laszlo is going to react or whatever, and that's kind of just the setup, and it's really about the Baron.
Yeah, and the roast isn't the whole episode,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So it's funny. I like it when shows do that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was a total Simpsons thing to do.
Another it was almost like a Simpsons type line when they were doing the actual roast and Baron was up there and he's like, you even invited humans to this thing, all right? And he's like, except, Sean's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I take it back.
I know. Everybody loves Sean.
he's like, you even invite stupid humans here. And he's like, I'm sorry. He like apologizes to Sean basically. He's like,
sorry,
he's like, I'm sorry. Not you, Sean. Not you, Sean. That would totally would be a Simpsons joke too.
I know. But yeah, so he still doesn't know. This was an opportunity, I guess, for Guillermo to come clean. But obviously. It wasn't right. They're gonna have to do it again. We only got 2 episodes left. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason I consider myself above fart jokes a lot, but that one just made me laugh. And I even saw it last week on like the when he's like, "You made a fart."
I feel like you're also. I'm not saying that I am, and I'm not judging you, but I feel like you're above an ejaculation joke too.
Well, it depends. I'm not above any joke.
It depends.
that is smart and told well.
Because you were because I'll just point out that you had a rather negative reaction to Laszlo whacking off in the shed 30 minutes before they were outside.
Whoa, because I just thought that was.
You're like,
gross.
oh, we don't need to know that. It's
I didn't mean
just as gross jerking off onto a pillow, if not more.
No, you're right. No, but I mean, I'm more thinking of like if I walked into a shed that I knew Laszlo had just, jerked off in, I'd be kind of like, ugh. Oh,
I imagine that Guillermo
you
assumes that Laszlo is jerked off everywhere in that house, outside the house, in the koi pond, sitting in the koi pond.
I guess
on top of the roof.
It's like a parent who's just
on top of the refrigerator. You were embarrassed.
It's probably like a parent who's just seen their baby like pee and poop everywhere, and they don't even care anymore.
It's like, yeah, it's strange. That's what's happening in the dreams.
Right.
So it's wiping my bottom.
My bottom.
Well,
So
there we
anyway,
go. So
there we go.
I mean, I almost think, and of course, my brain is fucking Swiss cheese or feta cheese. It's some kind of cheese that's not.
Feta's all right.
I'm just thinking like my brain is more like feta cheese. It's all crumpled up and nothing makes sense. None of it's connected. A cheddar cheese is like a solid block of cheese.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what most people's brains are like. Mine's feta. It's just a bunch of crumbles in there.
Okay.
But anyways, I can't remember, and I could just look at the website, but I'm not going to. But maybe we did do season enders 2-parters. Maybe they've been giving it to us like that for the past couple times.
Before, yeah. I don't get it, but I guess networks have their reasons.
Well, it's a funny move to upfront give us 2, and then at the end give us 2.
So you have a 10-episode run that's only in 6 weeks or whatever, right? I mean, maybe my math isn't, but yeah. Whatever. It's short. I guess, a lot of shows do it now. I don't know, how to. But it's weird when it's I don't know, some shows are, I guess all shows you just have to say basically because most people watch them streaming. So,
right.
It's weird. Next, so episode 9 is called A Weekend at Morgan Manor. The housemates are invited for a weekend away at the home of a mysterious, illustrious vampire. Oh, I wonder if that's going to be.
I wonder if it's going to be Wesley Snipes.
Maybe to celebrate the 25th anniversary.
I was thinking about also just like, probably be a little while. I'd probably have to be like deep into, wow, it's writer strike time to do a rewatch. And, maybe if we like are like, we're not getting anything, like, let's go back and do the first season or whatever. But like,
right.
I do I marvel at that particular episode with I will say it, the titular episode, the vampire, that's like jackanapes. I'm using a fancy word in the right way.
Jackanapery.
Jackanapery. That was really something else when they had they put that vampire council together. But also Donald Logue, who was on he was on Gotham, but he's in Blade, and he played his Blade vampire the season before last season on the show too. But just like that one, the Vampire Council, when they're all on TVs and that they just like got them to like shoot their part in front of a green screen or something, it's just like so fucking awesome. That gels the whole thing together for me. I just love it so much.
Awesome. Looking back now, I just kind of thought, well, sure, but it was so funny that they got them all.
I do not want you to look, and I'm not going to look, but I wonder, just in my mind, because I stay off of the previews. I just listen to what you tell me. Right. But so if don't tell me. But I hope it's a good vampire.
There's nothing. I don't know anything. There's nothing in the thing that says like special guest appearance by Wesley Snipes or something or nothing.
Or
there's nothing
Mark
like
Hamill.
That.
You know what I mean?
Right. There's no indication either way. So I know the same thing that you know.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's going to be funny. I'm sure it's going to be great. Whatever they decide on, I'm sure there'll be some scenario.
I bet it'll be
right?
a famous vampire, and maybe one we haven't really thought of.
That would be awesome. A mysterious, illustrious vampire is all it says. So it could be a lot of people. We'll have to see.
It could be Nick Kroll again.
Right. With Laszlo's hat.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Do you have anything else to add, Clay, or are we?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Nick Kroll, who's also not famously, we were talking before the show about that show, The League. It's a streaming classic if you can even find it. It's probably on Hulu. I think that was an FX show. But that is
I think you're right.
I'm trying to bank up some things. I have some I've been buying like randomly. Somebody will suggest a movie and I'll be like, I actually really want to do that. So like I wrote about 28 Days Later on my Substack, and I was listening to Broken Lizard guys, Jay Shandikar, the Super Troopers guys. They have a podcast. I was listening to that, and they were like, Puddle Cruiser was our first ever feature film. So I said, oh, really? They have a film before Super Troopers? Like, I like their movies. I like to see that. So I had to buy it on eBay. Oh. I bought a DVD of that, and then I had and the next thing that I'm watching now is the original Swamp Thing, which was directed by Wes Craven, and I have like a 4K DVD Blu-ray, and I was like, and I noticed on the producer credits, speaking of bats, is Michael Oslin was he produced that because it's a DC property, and it was probably before he owned Batman, or I don't know when exactly he picked it up, but
when they started giving him credit,
well, he kind of bought the rights or something, but anyways, so I think you think like DC, Warner Brothers, and then I was like, oh, this is Wes Craven, like I like Nightmare Before Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare Before Elm Street, Nightmare Before West Street.
Yeah, take West Street. It'll get you there.
But anyways, what I'm getting at is like, we get into the streaming wars and the writer's strike. Like, I'm going back to some old media, and I'm just being like, oh, I want to watch that. So if I can't find it on digital, whatever, I just buy the DVD.
No, that's good. We shouldn't eschew physical media all together. So
yeah, well, I don't ever think of it, but I'm like, oh, I want to watch this, and the only way to do it is buy the DVD, and then I make a whole thing of it. I'll watch that on Sunday or whatever.
Then you gotta wait for it to be delivered. Oh my god,
it's fun to me. That's fun. That's a fun part.
I want to go back really quick, not to change the subject too much, but when we were talking about the aristocrats, the joke.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the story, right?
Yeah. Okay, I couldn't remember. I couldn't, I was like, oh, I have to, watch somebody do their version of it, because, I don't exactly remember what happens in it.
I mean, it's apparently you're supposed to tell, as I remember it, I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but you have to just tell this dirty, gross, it's the dirtiest joke you can come up with.
Yeah, basically. It's disgusting, yeah.
And then it's supposed to be, what do you call these people? I don't even remember how the punchline goes, but the punchline is the aristocrats, meaning aristocrats are supposed to be high and mighty and rich, and they don't do
fancy people that wouldn't do something disgusting like ejaculate on a pillow.
Right, exactly. So it's pretty funny that I haven't heard that joke referenced, right? They did a whole Netflix documentary about it a while ago, or maybe it wasn't just Netflix, maybe just a regular documentary. But but it's fun. All these comedians talking about their experiences and stuff like that. But
that makes me think of Bob Saget most of all. I think his version is in that special is the best one or something, because he was R.I.P. Bob Saget, but also people still didn't quite know even after he died that he was a really fucking raunchy, fucking dirty comedian. The dad of Full House was he was really his stand up was fucked up and weird and funny and gross. Love it. So,
anyways, it's a fun documentary, and if you if you're interested in what Colin Robinson was going for there, and you didn't know, because I haven't heard the movie came out in 2005, and now this is 2023, so even I haven't heard it really referenced since then. So that is a deep cut, but it's really funny. So yeah,
yep. It's also as these writers and producers, like, they're comedians. Like,
absolutely,
they are like they put that in there for the comedians to laugh at, not just like the regular audience, you know.
Absolutely, and I love that stuff. So, all right, I think that's all we got.
All we got.
Forget, we're gonna do a countdown here in a second, but if you want to be added into the mix, where we all yell "bat," we may
just
only
like
have one more.
Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. They go, well, either one more or two more.
Well, there's two more episodes, but it's like they're throwing them at you in the same night. We're gonna have to decide how we want to do this.
Yeah, well, we'll let the audience decide, or give us any feedback whatsoever. bat@vampcouncil.com. Vampcouncil.com is where you can find this podcast online. You can get us on Spotify for podcasters. Spotify.vampcouncil.com. We prefer you listen to us on Spotify. Today was the day that Stitcher went away, so I posted a very funny picture of Batman 66 with these very funny headphones on, and I said, if you're on Stitcher, switch to Spotify. It's an easy thing to do. Otherwise, you can just go to leakpodcast.com, see all our feeds there. But please, Spotify.vampcouncil.com and bat@vampcouncil.com is where you can get added in, like the Uka Chaka from the Dark Knight Rises into our bat. As we are wont to do, and we'll be back for either one or two more episodes. But this season's about to wrap up.
But we'll keep your bat for next season. Don't worry about
that.
Oh
yeah. We might even go back and remix the old ones, put you in there.
Sure. But we're gonna count down now. But yeah, remember all that stuff that Clay just said. And here we go. Do you want me to count it down? Who's counting it down?
You count it down. You're good at it.
3, 2, 1.
Bat!
Later,
you fucks. See you later. Enough of this jackanapery.
Jackanapery.
It's one of the hardest guitar pieces in the world to play.